Hello. So we need to get back to Alex the Parrot, chapters 3 and 4. So here we are, chapter 3. Alex began his training by learning key and paper and other single words. After about a year, he began to group words together. This was a very big step. When Alex called something four corner wood, he would he was doing something no other bird had done. He was showing that he understood numbers, four, shapes, square, and materials, wood. When he called something green peg wood or blue key, he was proving that he knew colors too. There were chimpanzees and gorillas in other parts of the country who could understand numbers, shapes, materials, and colors also. They spoke with their trainers by signing, just as some deaf people use sign language. A chimp named Washoe could sign about 130 words. A gorilla named Coco could sign about 200, but only Alex could understand hundreds of words and say them. By the time he was in his teens, Alex had learned to count up to six, to add and to subtract. He could say when something was bigger or smaller. He could tell what was the same and what was different. Alex, what's the same? Color. What's different? Shape. Alex, how many? Three. How many different? One. Alex also understood something children can't grasp until they are 4 or 5, the concept of zero. When zero was the right answer, Alex used the word none. Alex, what's different? None. These were things no chimp or gorilla could do. Alex wasn't supposed to have the brain power to do them either, but that didn't stop him. Over the years, Irene wrote about Alex's amazing progress, but scientific magazines ignored her. Up until the 1980s, most scientists believed that only humans could speak and understand words. A few scientists thought differently. One was Roger Faux probably, who had begun teaching Washoe the chimp to use sign language in 1967. Another was Francine Patterson, who had been teaching sign language to Coco the gorilla since 1972. Chimps and gorillas grow in the wild using gestures that resemble sign language. This gave Washoe and Coco the natural ability to learn it. Even so, training took them years. African greys in the wild often imitate the sounds of other birds and animals. As far as we know, their calls and cries don't resemble spoken language. But even if they did, teaching Alex to speak would still have been very demanding. So it is not surprising that Roger and Francine admired what Irene was doing. After years of hard work, it was good to be taken seriously. Chapter 4. Alex says, "You tickle." Meanwhile, stories about Alex began showing up in newspapers and magazines. When he and Irene appeared on television, millions of people saw for themselves how intelligent he was. The result, Alex became famous, a parrot celebrity. His fans were impressed with his intelligence, of course, but they loved him because he was a show-off, a very funny one. He would sway and bob his head in time to music. He would stick his head in a mug and make silly noises. He would say, "Want a show off?" until someone sprayed him with water. When he wanted a tickle, he would say, "You tickle." Then he would bend his head, exposing his neck. Alex liked being tickled so much that his face would turn pink with pleasure. When he was a little older, Alex learned a new command: go, go see tree. It meant he wanted to be taken to a window so he could watch the birds outside. He seemed to like them. The birds inside were a different matter. In 1995, Irene got another African gray to train. She named him Griffin. He was a tiny baby, but 7 weeks old. He needed lots of special care. He had to be fed by hand, carried in a blanket, and watched closely. Irene hoped that Alex would welcome the young bird, but on their first meeting, Alex narrowed his eyes and made an angry, growling noise. Then he headed straight for Griffin, beak first. The message was clear. Griffin was definitely not welcome. Alex and only Alex was the boss. Say, better. In time, peace returned to the lab as long as everybody followed Alex's rules. He was top bird. He always had to perch higher than Griffin and closest to Irene. When she came into the lab, she had to greet him first, otherwise he would sulk. When Griffin started to learn words the same way Alex had, Alex liked to butt in. He would say the right word really fast before Griffin could, or he would cry, "Say better." That was his bossy way of telling Griffin to speak more clearly. Sometimes he would even say a wrong word just to confuse the younger bird. Griffin was a good sport about Alex's teasing, so were the assistants who helped Irene. It wasn't always easy. They were dealing with Boss Alex, after all. As soon as a new assistant entered the lab, Alex began issuing orders. "Want nut, want grape, go get dinner," he would call. "Come here, pay attention, you tickle." He showed no mercy. Nevertheless, Alex liked the assistants a lot. Once he got to know them, he would call them by name and dance on their shoulders. He would even chime in when they sang. At those times, Alex was a very good boss. "Want grape." Chapter 5. I Love You. At night, Alex would sit in his cage and talk to himself. He would repeat phrases. He would rhyme words, whistle, and caw. He would often imitate Irene. "Good Parrot, good boy," he would say aloud, or "Try better, what's your problem?" He sounded just like her. There were still people who doubted that Alex understood what he was saying, but Irene was sure that he did. She had tested him thousands of times. Besides, they understood each other. They were old friends. On the last night she saw him, they parted in their usual way. Alex said, "You be good. I love you." Irene told Alex she loved him too. Then he asked, "You'll be in tomorrow?" "Yes, I'll be in tomorrow," she answered. The next morning, Irene received an email from the lab that began, "Sadness." It went on to deliver terrible news. Alex was dead. At first, Irene couldn't believe it. Alex was only 31, and Greys often lived to be over 60. But it was true. On September 7, 2007, Alex had died in his cage of heart failure. Heart failure. Their long, wonderful friendship was over. News of Alex's death fled around the world. It was reported on television and newspapers everywhere. Even scientific magazines ran the story. Alex Alex videos appeared daily on the internet, and millions of people watched them. Friends, colleagues. Yes. Alex videos appeared daily on the internet, and millions of people watched them. Friends, colleagues, and Alex fans from countries near and far wrote to Irene, expressing their sorrow. Alex had touched them all. In his short life, he had made a big difference. First and foremost, he changed the way people thought about birds. He showed that they were smarter than anybody had ever dreamed. Alex was as smart as a 5-year-old child. Until then, only chimps and gorillas had tested that high. Alex also made people understand that African greys are much happier when they have company. They live in flocks in the wild and are almost never alone. As pets, they shouldn't be alone too much either. As very intelligent pets, they need to play and learn. If they don't, they get bored and misbehave, just the way children do. After hearing about Alex, many owners changed the way they treated their African greys. Thanks to him, their pets grew now to lead much better lives. Irene's work did not stop with Alex. After his death, she kept on teaching African Greys. Griffin became her main student, and he made great progress. When he was 12, Griffin took part in an unusual experiment. He went to a nursery school where the children were 3, 4, and 5 years old. He was tested on words, shape, numbers, and colors. So were the children. Griffin did very well. He scored as high as the 3.5-year-olds. These results were important. They proved that Griffin or some other African Grey might turn out to be just as smart as Alex. That may happen, but even if it does, Alex won't be forgotten. He was the first.